Thanks, Barbara. Good morning, everyone. Deep breath. How's everyone doing through all this? Doing okay? Thumbs up? Okay, fantastic. So what we're going to be doing, I really am grateful to NYSAIS and all of you for jumping on board. I know we're all busy. I was just talking to a colleague this morning and said, you know, it's Friday and this week feels like about a month. So, you know, hopefully what we're going to offer for you today will be helpful. At the end of my PowerPoint, I have my information during the Q&A. This is all about sharing. This is all about what can we do for each other and how can we work together to get through this. So please feel free to reach out to me at any time during this, after this. I'd be happy to help, and let's collaborate as much as we can. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I want to get our PowerPoint up there. So okay, so just a little bit of information on us. So Maplebrook is a school for students with learning differences, mostly language-based. We do have some students with on the spectrum, and it's really kind of a wide range. So I'm hoping what we're going to present today is what we put together to serve our families, and it may be adapted for you. You may be able to take a few things, change them, adjust. Once again, I am willing to work with anyone on helping you do that. So I was fortunate or unfortunate, depends on how you look at it, at the National Association of Independent Schools conference when the coronavirus kind of broke and was brought to our attention. And the very first night we had an opportunity to sit through a workshop on what do you do about this? What's happening? And it was just an impromptu COVID-19 workshop. So very informative, a lot of information. And as you all know, we're probably on information overload at this point. So what I decided to do is put up a page on our website just for the information. And this was still, we had students still here. You all had your schools going. But really, I thought the most important piece of this whole thing, besides washing your hands, is communication. Communication with each other, communication with your families. So this is why we put all this together. And again, I was grateful to have NYSAIS reach out to us. So really, this has been a whirlwind of, oh, by the way, close doors on your school and figure it out. So obviously that has caused a lot of anxiety, the media, and just in general, families who all of a sudden have to have their kids home for a long time and out of that structure. And the folks that are on this, obviously you work with students that have disabilities. Structure is everything. So what we did is we planned our distance learning program as a solution for our families and for our students to get through this health crisis as best we could. So on our website, we do have, again, this is just a coronavirus, information page, links, latest news. We try to keep it up to date as much as possible, but as I'm sure you're finding that it's challenging. What I thought was really great is the American Cleaning Institute. Who knew about that, right? Had no idea it was such a thing until I was doing a little bit of research, and it's kind of cool for after coronavirus. There's some really interesting tips. It's almost like the 21st century hints from Heloise. Those of you who are old enough to know who she was. But that's kind of an interesting page there. Feel free at any point if you want to go on and do what you need to do to take things from our website if you want to put them on your own. Again, this is all about sharing. So let me talk a little bit about how a typical day works at Maplebrook, and it's probably pretty similar at your schools. I know many of you are at day schools, but as we mentioned, structure, more structure. Our day begins at 7 a.m. Again, as Barbara mentioned, we're a boarding school. We have a very small day population, but full class schedule from 9 in the morning until 3:30. We have sports, study hall, and then independent living skills in the evening. Now, our students are home. The families are not, structured or set up like a school. So that's what this program is that we've actually tried to recreate what we do here at school so families can implement that at home and try to keep some semblance of structure. So this is what we try to do, is try to replicate all of this with our families. We are fully committed to a full days and a full week scheduling for our families. I don't know if any of you are all working from home, but if you have your own kids, I've talked to several of our faculty who have their children at other schools, and they're saying, I don't know how they can do it. Everybody's got different schedules. How are we supposed to keep everybody going? And with a student that has learning challenges or ADHD or spectrum students, it's even harder. So what we've decided to do is, once this hit and our students went home on spring break and we were told they can't return, we said, all right, all hands on deck. We're going to replicate as best we can. So this is what we're going to talk about today. Go ahead. All right, so in our planning, there were 3 components that were key to this. And it was families first, then students, then our faculty and staff. So in our planning, we were, these were the key areas where we had to make sure that we were informing, communicating, and planning well. So we're going to go, as we go along, I'm going to hit on each one of these. Go ahead. So what we did was we set up a schedule. Classes and tutoring are being held through Google Meet platform Monday through Friday. From sorry, I don't know if you can see that, but from 10 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Sounds like a long day, but what we have worked in there, and I can send anyone a sample schedule if they'd like to see it. What we're doing is we're actually teaching a class, through Google Meet for 20 minutes. And because we have a lot of different levels, so we have some students who might be at a lower reading level than others that are in their class. So how we did that was the one group, A group, lower cognitive or lower academic levels, those students are actually in a class with the student or with the teacher, just like we're doing here. The other students are doing an assignment through Google Meet, and then they swap. So they're 40-minute periods, but the students are actually doing face-to-face instruction for 20, and that's even broken up too. All right, we're going to read this together. Then, hey, let's go look at we're going to go on a virtual tour, or something like that. So they're really, the teachers are mixing it up a little bit, almost like teaching like a TV show. So commercial every 10 minutes. That's to keep your attention, not necessarily so you can just go to the bathroom. So what we're doing is, that's one way to break up such a long period, because when they're here at school, they have 40-minute periods. Well, at home, it's a little different. So we decided to break it up that way and make it a lot easier on the families, easier to keep the kids' attention. And then, of course, there are breaks, and there's stretching breaks. That's what we put in there. Got 5 minutes, go walk around, go get a drink of water, go to the bathroom, do what you need to do. Students should be ready to log into their first class at 10 o'clock, and that's Eastern time. The reason I put that up there, we do have some international students where we are recording all of our classes so they can watch them, and we can have set up a one-on-one with them. We have a young lady from Turkey, she's 7 hours ahead. So we have to make sure we take care of those students as well. And that's why we're recording them. We have some students in California, a few others. So lunch break, and then I'm going to talk about mentoring in just a second. So they have this structured day, and the independent living skill piece is going to come in the evening. Okay, we're only Monday evenings. We're going to do a Zoom call. I'm taking the girls. Our director of boarding school life will take the boys, and teaching them some sort of independent living skill, whether it's covering shaving or cleaning up your room. all of you know, if you ask a student with learning challenges to go clean up their room, you might as well be asking them to just go empty Hoover Dam. It doesn't work that way. It has to be broken out, and there has to be, step-by-step instructions. So we've put together little PowerPoints for them, clips of videos from YouTube on how to make your bed. Some students know how to do it, others don't. But really what we're aiming to do here is take the heavy lift off the parents and keep the students in routine as best as possible. Very interesting. I had a conversation with a mother last night, one of our current families, and she said, I don't know how you do this every day, but he is fighting me and he doesn't want to do this. And I said, well, this is where you can say, look, the school knows that you can do that, and this is who you're answering to now. And it really takes that battle away from the parents. And this is why we've set things up as we have. And again, I'd be happy to share any of the independent living skill lessons. We have students who are younger, we have students who are older. There are some students that are going to be going off to college. They don't need to know how to make their bed. So we've adjusted the independent living skill lessons for things like executive functioning, managing your time, planning. They're home, they're waiting for mom and dad to tell them what's next. Nope, that's where we come in, to help out with that delayed gratification. They're home, they don't really want to do what they're supposed to do. It's easier when the video game is right next door to them. So this is where we're really trying to make sure that we cover everything. So programs that we're using, Google Classroom, of course, because it's a very easy platform to use, Google Meet, Activate, and IXL. Now, Activate we use during the school year as our executive functioning piece. It's brain training, a program that we've used through the researchers through Yale. And it's been really, really great for our students. It's set up like a video game, so it's fun for them to play, and it's brain training. For those of you that remember Simon, you had to remember the colors. It's kind of like that. And then IXL, I'm happy to say that if anybody has used IXL, or if you want to try to explore it, they have waived their membership fees, I believe, for during the coronavirus. And we are using IXL for reading, math, English, social studies, and science. And there are all lesson plans ready to go if you wanted to do something different for the students. So it's really fantastic. I'm not here to plug any specific programs. I just know what works well for our students. I'm doing parent check-in meetings along with my director of admissions, who's I'm happy to say on this call. And we, again, I mentioned mentoring before. I'll talk about that in a second. And the parent check-in meetings are really, really important. And we were committed when we decided to launch this program, we were committed to making sure that we took care of our families. They're not educators, and they had, we went on spring break and there was light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, we have a 2-week spring break, and then great. I get to send them back to school, Sunday the 30th or the 29th, whenever it was. Now that light at the end of the tunnel is the freight train heading right towards them. So they have their whole set of anxiety on top of how their kids are feeling. So we felt it was really important for a couple of us administrators to get onto a Zoom call a couple of times a week. First one is we're doing Wednesday afternoon, where this is where we're getting feedback. How are the lessons going? Where do we need to make adjustments from your end? And then the Friday meeting is, all right, parents, what can we do for you? How are you doing emotionally, mentally? What can we do to support this? Do you need us to put in a quick telephone call to Charlie to make sure that, he's being respectful? I did to do that yesterday. So it's really about working as a team and giving all that support. It sounds like a heavy lift and it sounds like a lot to do, but it really, I think in the long run, it'll work out better. Obviously, we're using supplemental websites like YouTube, and the students must use their Gmail account. Whatever platforms you use are great. And everyone's being very forgiving. about bugs and, you know, this doesn't work quite right. And everyone's being really, really okay about it and being patient. And that's kind of important. So some key information that I think is essential here. We sent out some information, kind of a bulleted list to our families. And again, I'm willing to share anything that anybody would like. Kids have to be in acceptable dress. You know, I don't want to see pajamas or, you know, comb your hair, make sure you took a shower, you know, or get yourself, because look, just like this, everybody's seeing each other. We have had some Zoom calls with our students already in anticipation of this. And as educators, you will appreciate this. What a B12 shot for us here at school. We miss the kids so much, and I'm sure you do. You miss your students very much. But to see their eyes light up, just to say, you know, they were so excited to see us, and it was great. And they were sitting up straight, and it was terrific. So really, we emphasize the fact that this is school, this is class. We will provide breaks for bathroom stretching, you know, get a drink of water, walk around. We wanted to make sure that the families knew and the students knew we're going to take this seriously because they need to earn their credits. This is why we're doing this. Quiet place should be set up. No distractions. Cell phones get turned off, put away. No video games. iPads, I mean, unless they're going to use the iPad as their learning tool, that's fine. Don't be in a room where the TV is. And really, minimal, this shouldn't say no, but minimal visual distractions behind them. So, you know, if there's a, you know, a Disney poster behind them, it's going to be like, oh, what's that all about? So it's a little bit too much of a distraction. Parents have been really great about setting this up as best as possible. And then of course, I'm going to talk about Rise Points in just a second, which is an easy program that you can certainly adapt to your schools too. So the courses and the tutorials, like I mentioned before, we have two programs. We have one for students who are roughly 12 to 18, and then we have an after high school program, 18 to 21. So our classes had to be structured a little bit differently. We are sticking just to the basics for our students in the academic program: reading, writing, math, social studies, science. And then for our post-secondary students, we have occupational studies, environmental science, interpersonal psychology, which is a social skills and executive functioning class. And then of course, finance. So all that budgeting, money management is really important. We are providing individual tutoring as scheduled and as needed to reinforce skills. We have some post-secondary students working on an online certification program. I was just in touch with one of my students who's doing a veterinary assistant program. And, you know, he's just checking in. I did my practice exam, I studied. Is it okay if I go ahead and take my test? So, and of course, it's these things are, just because coronavirus came, we can't stop life. You know, they've worked really hard up to this point, and, you know, they should be earning these certifications. And then of course, high school diploma, of course. There are scheduled class periods during the day. Again, I talked a little bit about that already. No more than 20 minutes. You know how that attention goes. Now, what we did is also on our website, we set up some resource pages. So one of them, the first one here, this is for our faculty. And what I did was I made sure that our families could not get into this, because I don't want them to click on one of these resources and say, oh, well, you didn't do this. You know, so there was a way out through our website where we could protect it, where the faculty were the ones that had access to this. We do have certain rules, this student responsible user agreement, willing to share that with anyone if they like it. Google Classroom tutorials, which we have set up here at the school, some best practices, guidelines. You can see, you know, where this goes. But again, this is a page you would not be able to access outside of Maplebrook, but if you would like these resources, I am more than happy to share them with anybody who would like them. So, so let's talk about Rise for a little bit. This is a program that we use here at our school that is easily adaptable. And I'd be happy to talk with anyone about it. The whole idea here is the students are asked to be prepared for their classes, arriving on time, have their homework, give effort. So in an online learning platform, that's going to mean you keep it muted, you raise your hand, just like everyone else did, and then interact well with each other, respect each other. We put in the rules. Don't take any screenshots of your classes. Don't share anything on social media. That's, that's not right. So these are simple. And I think an important piece to this program is its positive reinforcement. These kids have had enough negative in their lives. Now they've got a brand new change. Now they have to get used to a whole different outlook, a whole different world right now. They're used to going to school, not being at home and learning. So this is just another positive piece. So we go through class, and at the end of it, it says, hey, Kevin, you did a great job today. Good participation. Glad that you raised your hand and waited your turn. You really were very helpful, and it was great during this class. They get that positive feedback from the teacher to say, this is great. Good, I did a good job. And then, it's a point system. So we award points to them for meeting their responsibilities and doing these things, being prepared, being there on time, dressed appropriately, not wearing their pajamas, not laying in their bed, that sort of thing. Every student is assigned a mentor. It's kind of like an advisor. I'm sure you have something at your school that is similar. And so the mentors are going to be working with our students just on a Zoom call. I've set up mine up already. We're going to be meeting over lunch. So the girls that I'm a mentor for, they're going to go get their lunch, sign on. We're going to eat together because that's our break during the day, and just talk about how things are going. How are they coping? What can we do to help? How are classes going? Do you need some tutoring? Do you need some ideas for your free time? Whatever that is. But mentoring sessions are private. We've asked the families, do not be there. Okay, this is between the mentor and the student, and it is just like it is at school. It's private. So it's really just one more added support. And what I love about Zoom, and those of you, I'm going to reiterate what Barbara said. I'm a firm believer. Okay, so I did my first Zoom with NYSAIS. I was hooked. You can see how easy it is. But what I love about this is that I can set up a Zoom meeting and link it right to my mentees' calendars. So there's no excuse. They go right on their calendar, click on the link when it's time. So really, that's kind of the beauty of all of this. And this is the cornerstone of what we do here at the school. Once again, it's easily adaptable, and it really is a wonderful opportunity to not only be a role model for our kids, but to give that extra reach out and help. They may not have the counselor that they have at school. They might not have access to that person. So now this is an opportunity for someone that they're familiar with to help them along through this challenging time. So we talked a little bit about independent living skills. What we've created, and again, I'm going to show you, and I'll share anything you want. We have put together a daily independent living skill checklist. This is what every student's supposed to do every single day. Okay, that means making your bed. That means getting up on time. It might be helping around the house. Maybe it's your turn to do the dishes. I have a very, very dear friend who is home now. She is a nurse, but she is going back and forth between helping, and she has 12-year-old twin boys, and she's gotten them to help with the dishes. Well, she might have to buy new dishes at the end of this because they're chipped and they're broken, but her philosophy is they're putting the effort in and they're pretty clean for the most part. So I think anyway, we can kind of find humor in this situation, but we did post on we have created a distance learning page of our website for our parents to follow, our students to follow, and they need to do this checklist and send it off to the staff member here at school. And the way we've set it up is they just have to click a button and it sends right away. We are not asking the parents to do this training. That's what we are doing. All we're asking is that parents observe the task, only give one prompt, leave the responsibility up to the students. What we're discovering as we're talking to parents is that the kids have this mentality of, I'm home, so I can be a little bit more relaxed. Well, we're trying to bring that structure back and help as much as possible the parents. And you know, it's not necessary for them to nag. It's a great opportunity for the students to step up, and the way that we approach it with them is prove it to your parents. You do this at school every day. Prove it to them that you can do it at home too. Go ahead. Okay, so to complete our program, we do normally, of course, as a boarding school, we do weekend activities. Well, no one's supposed to go anywhere, right? So what we've decided is we have set up virtual recreational activities. There are all kinds of wonderful videos out there, yoga. There are, you know, people can go outside. Let's hope that the parks and things stay open a little bit and people are observing social distancing. We're pretty fortunate. We have a student who is a certified Zumba instructor. So she has put together a bunch of videos that we've been able to put up on our YouTube channel so that other students can join along. And what a boost for her. You know, so it's great for her to say, look, you are going to help us get moving. Meanwhile, she's working on a certification as a fitness instructor for kids. So that's something that she's really been able to help us out. I had the good fortune yesterday of riding a roller coaster at Universal Studios, virtually, of course. So these are the things that we're trying to set up for our students. I've already got it mapped out a little bit. I sent out a message to the students saying on Sunday at 1 o'clock, I'm doing a virtual tour of some castles in Ireland. Who's with me? And I have about 5 or 6 students that are like, me. So we're setting it up through Zoom. And what you can do is you just go, you know, you link up to the virtual tour and we get to talk to each other and we get to go visit. You can go to Universal Studios. You can do whatever you'd like to do. Comic-Con, they're all over the place. There's tons of them. We have on our website, I'd be happy to share with you, 6 pages of things to do. And I've got an amazing weekend activity staff that, again, it's about sharing. Any information you can give to parents, any tips, anything you can give them to keep the kids busy, I'm telling you, they're going to be pretty grateful. That's what we're finding too. So, so resources here. This is where we are committed. Easy access. We do not want our parents to have to sift through a million emails that they've gotten to try to figure out where everything is. So we've created a distance learning program page on our website, which I'll show you next. So everything's there. All the links are there. All they got to do is click. You know, we really don't want to make this hard for anyone. Activity suggestions, we already talked about that. During the kids' breaks, we had a meeting with them yesterday, a Zoom meeting. If it's your physical activity break, go do some jumping jacks. Go, you know, run around the house a couple of times before you come back. Get that energy out. We don't want them to just go jump on social media. There'll be time at the end of the day for that. We are also setting up some group activities through Zoom, just for them to connect with each other. These are people they see all day, every day, and they miss that. So we're setting up, you know, just some, you know, let's watch a movie and then talk about it afterwards. We will be happy to help anybody with all of that. Just keep in mind, what we've tried to remember is the biggest part of their day is done at school and with their friends and with their teachers. So the more that we can use the technology to connect with each other, then there's going to be less burden on the families. So our expectations were really to duplicate what we do at school as best as possible. Nothing beats in person. Nothing beats the social interaction of person to person, but this is where you can still work on that too. We're on Zoom together, right? So you can see what people are wearing. You can see who's looking out the window. You can see who is, you know, touching their face when they shouldn't be, like I did several times during this. And you can see where that, and it's a great opportunity to use this as a learning tool. You know, not to embarrass anybody, but remember, you have to be polite. You have to make sure that you are listening and engaged. Once again, we want to take the stressors away from our families. Some of them may be laid off right now. Some of them may be struggling with several students home at the same time. So really, this is our goal. For the students that have learning challenges, it's twice as hard, as you know, because you work in this field. But let me show you what the parent page looks like. Simple. It mirrors the faculty page, but this is where they just need to click on the ILS checklist. All right, what are they supposed to do every day? They can print it out, put it right up in their bedroom. This is what's expected. We have some resources on there on how to manage the anxiety for the family, for the students, because once again, they may not have that social worker or that counselor. They may not have access to the person they're used to. So there's some techniques and there's some great articles out there. If I find any, if you have any you want to share, let's use this together for each other and share as best we can. Okay, how's everybody doing? You still with me? I haven't seen anybody, too many people drop out, so that's good. All right, so communication. This is really our mantra. You cannot over communicate during this. We are all navigating a brand new landscape. No one really knows, you know, the best way to do it. So we've urged our families, be patient. There's going to be a learning curve. And we thought, again, I'll mention it, can't say it enough. If you have the opportunity to have a separate, even if it's 30 minutes, set up a Zoom call with your parents, with your families. They need to vent, they need to talk. They're not educators. They're not sure what to do. Am I doing the right thing? How much is too much? Give them that opportunity to just, you be a resource for them. It's going to go a long, long, long way. And it doesn't have to be a lot of time. Give them some tips and tricks how to, you know, how to do all this. You know, what I discovered is we've had to reinvent ourselves as educators because we do this every day without even thinking. Okay, so we know what the techniques are, we do them automatically, but to try to explain to a parent how to do what you do is intriguing. It's a whole new skill set. But once they know, it's a new level of appreciation for you. Not that we're all looking for that. That's not why we went into teaching, but it's nice for us too. We have to worry about our own mental health too. It's nice once in a while to get that pat on the back from a family saying, you know what, I had no idea. I had that last night. She said, I could never do what you do. And then you're doing it, not just with my son, but with a whole school full. And it feels good to know that, you know, it's very validating. I think my note at the bottom is really, really important. I've set up these twice a week meetings on purpose so that I don't have 150 emails coming through every day that I have to feel like I have to field. I set up these meetings for that. Write your questions down, and then let's talk about it when we have our face-to-face Zoom meeting. You can't tell people's tone through an email. You can't tell frustration, and you're never going to be able to address that properly. But you can this way. You can say, you know what, it's going to be okay, and have that calming force that families can say, you know what, it might be okay. And while I look like I've, you know, stuck my fork in the outlet, there's somebody here that gets the struggle and understands what's happening. It's all hands on deck. My faculty have bought in 150%. This is who we are as educators. And once again, it's that message that we're not closed, we're delayed in our opening. So all that positive communication, super, super important, especially to the kids. We're not closing. What's happening is we're just going to be a little while before we can come back to school. And they're, you know, and parents are struggling to try to say the right thing. This is where we can jump in and help with that. So once again, I mentioned expectations, be flexible. Things aren't going to work perfectly. Everyone has to give each other a pass in the beginning. Be resilient. It's going to be okay. I joke about this. I do a lot of presentations on resiliency, and I always make mention, I'm the last of 5 kids, and my father was a Marine. So, you know, there's a lot of resilience here that had to happen. But we're tougher than we think we are, you know, with all of this. Be patient. There's going to be frustrations. There's going to be student frustrations. There's going to be parent family frustrations, a little bit on the faculty. But again, if you can stay calm, then the kids will be okay. Make sure you let them know it's all right to make a mistake. We're in this together. We're going to learn it together. And then, of course, we talked about communication. What I would strongly suggest is anything you're going to do remotely, distance learning with your students, start with basics. Get a foundation. You can always add as you go, but you can't take away. So it's almost like baking a cake. If you put too much in, you can't take that out, but you can always add more. So keep that in mind. That's a good way. If you start with too much, if you fail, nobody's going to sign on. They're going to be done. So really slow and steady wins the race. Add on as you go along, because again, we don't know how long. We're up to what, about a month now at least that we're all going to be out of this. So it's okay. You've got time to build on that. Be creative. As I mentioned to my faculty, it's a great time for you to reinvent yourself. It's spring. This is the time when we're all, you know, the weather's getting nicer. We're all getting a little tired. We're looking towards the end of the school year. This is a reboot. So it's an opportunity to try that thing that you weren't sure might work. Be creative. There's a ton of resources out there, but I'm going to caution on that too. There's so many resources, you can get lost in it. So use your colleagues. Right here, we have what, 188 people that have gone on to this. And I know that NYSAIS is going to save this. Let's all keep talking to each other and share. That's really what this is about. So again, every time you think you couldn't go on, you did. Think about the time that you wanted to stop and you didn't, and how rewarding it was. Everyone stay healthy. We'll get through this together.